I think I'm going to get started, everyone, and we will have people joining as we're going through it. But I'll open up by saying good evening. Welcome to the third annual Pink Talented Angels virtual event. It is a pleasure to have all of you here. For the new guests that we have some people from YNG and from EO that are joining us, so welcome. I'm Lizanne Falsetto. I'm the founder and CEO of Pink Talented Angels, and we are holding weekly calls on Thursday for about an hour to an hour and 15 minutes to try to bring you the most relative, important information that can help you through a crisis with your business. Pink Talented Angels is an organization and a community of women that support women. And we are here to help during the crisis of today, of what we're going through, but also we're here to help you in many different levels of your business. And after we took a poll last week, we saw that social media was a very important conversation for many of you. And what we wanted to do is bring you an expert to talk about social media and to be able to deliver some very important tips to be able to execute as you're at home running your business. And this can be for any business across the board. So I think it'll be very relative information for all of you. The subject of today's is social media in a time of quarantine. And Josh Rose is our guest. Josh Rose spent 2 decades inside Interpublic Group, IPG, building a career in marketing that took him to EVP, Group Creative Director at Deutsch, to Chief Creative Officer at Weber Sandrick. I hope I said that right, Josh. During his tenures, the 2 agencies were named Agency of the Year and made the Ad Age A-list 10 times, which is pretty incredible. Rose led digital creativity on accounts like Volkswagen, PlayStation, General Mills, TGI Fridays, and DirecTV. Rose was creative lead for both offline and online campaigns and developed for the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, and led social media for the U.S. Army in 2017 and 2018. Today, Rose runs Humans Are Social, a social media strategy and content agency that brings his big branding experience to small and mid-sized clients and individuals. Rose is also a professional photographer, a very, very good one. Love his work, represented by Crowd Management, and an award-winning artist. Small and medium-sized businesses are finding themselves at a very critical juncture right now, in an extended moment of fear. And I think we all have a bit of fear around our businesses and what to expect and what's happening with this crisis. As we're homebound, CEOs are managing their businesses from their living rooms. This session will help ease the stress with a social media strategy and toolkit for self-reliant marketing. We'll cover some best practices as seen in other brands' work, as well as an overview of tools and resources for managing promotional and messaging on your own while you're at home. So I'd like to welcome Josh Rose. Thank you, Josh.
Zan, thanks so much. Thanks to all of you for tuning in and having me with you tonight. Been excited to do this since I got invited in, and thanks, Lizanne and Tanya, for doing that and welcome me into your beautiful community. Do you want me to take over?
Yeah, if you could put your slides up, that'd be great.
So that would be to take over the control, right? So request remote control. So I put a request into you, Lizanne.
Okay.
So let me know.
Yeah, Danielle's doing it right now.
Okay.
It says it's waiting for Josh to control your screen.
Oh. I don't see anything popping up.
Oh, you know what? I think, can you do you see something that says share my screen?
Let me see.
Danielle, can you just put them up?
Yep, I have them up as well.
Yep, let's have you do it. Josh will just say next slide when he's done.
I wish I knew how to request. Wait, let me see. Share screen. Oh, let me see. I just found the button at the bottom.
Whatever's easiest for you, Josh.
It'd be great if I could try it.
Okay.
It says cannot start screen share while other participant is sharing.
Oh, here, I'll stop my share and then you can take over.
Okay. Great. Okay. Let's see if this works. Uh-huh. Now it's asking me. Oh, now it says I have to quit and do all this control stuff. All right, so let's, sorry about that.
I'll take over then, no worries.
Okay. So while we're waiting for this, oh, here we go. Thank you. So, so yeah, thank you for the intro. The transition, I've been doing this business now for about 2 years and on my own and taking, as Lizanne said, some of the learnings I've had working with big companies at a big agency and applying them, as I like to say, to people who actually deserve it. In more mid-sized and smaller businesses. And it's been nothing but a pleasure for 2 years to work in that capacity. It's just a more nimble environment. And I find that people like all of you who are running businesses and moving really quickly need something just a little bit more like reactive and quick and quick explanations and real world solutions to things rather than more processes and higher level stuff. And so, you know, I've been working with I have about 5 or 6 different clients. They range from product driven stuff, retail. I do so a clothing brand. I have a electric scooter brand I work with, but I also work with individuals, celebrities, and musicians and helping them launch their digital entertainment platforms and things like that. So it's a little all over the place. Every one of those clients, and you can go to the next screen. Everyone I work with right now is going through probably something relatively similar to what all of you are going through, which is that they're trying to figure out how to adapt and move into, you know, a new scenario that is, you know, came up very fast, is affecting everybody, and are trying to find relevant ways to continue their business. Sometimes out of just pure, you know, like business has to keep running to keep lights on. But also, you know, how can we be sensitive to how culture is changing and do we need to change as a company? What I'm seeing is this is different depending on who I work with. And it goes all the way from, you know, musicians I'm working with who just want to be able to do, you know, performances from home and they want to know, well, how do I do that? How do I do IGTV and how do I, you know, get that out there? And sometimes it's even, how do I produce it? You know, if I want to do a multi-screen thing like this on Zoom and record it, like how can we do that? All the way to, I've got clients whose business, like the electric scooter one, is suddenly a business that's in higher demand because people want to own their scooter. They don't want to rent scooters that have been touched by other people. And so that's a business that needs to adapt message-wise and change a little bit and just highlight different benefits of theirs that they weren't highlighting before or were maybe a tertiary messaging strategy for them are now finding, you know, a higher place, and they've got to, you know, adjust some of the messaging strategy in accordance with the needs. And then I'm working with a clothing brand that completely pivoted their business. I mean, they're still retail, but with distribution and production in China, they flipped everything to delivering N95 masks. They needed a new website, they needed product photography, they needed pricing, they needed everything, a new logo, because it's a new medical wear kind of line. And so there's this sort of across the board, every business is a little bit different and has to adapt in a different way. And so this is meant to be a little bit of an overview of tools that I believe everyone can use right now, partly, and you can go to the next screen, thank you, in two categories. One, the media portion of things, and the other is the messaging portion of things. And the thing that gets talked about a lot is messaging, and I'm going to get to that a little bit later. The media side of it is a more complex element. And the other layer, I think, that's happening on the situation is that we're all at home. And so that means you can't necessarily just walk down a hall or have a meeting with someone real easily and get a quick answer to something. And so I'm finding that a lot of people are just taking control of stuff themselves. Everyone I work with is now doing a lot of their own content creation, as well as trying to figure out a little bit of a marketing strategy and how they can be doing, taking control of this marketing too. So the good news and so I wanted to discuss that first, the media side, and what I see as the quick things. By quick, I don't mean like 10 minutes, but I do think over the next few days, you can all be looking at the links that we're going to go through and start to parse out how, if you want to adapt any of these, or if you're not doing any of these, you can spend some time right now really learning how to do some online media buying and placing some ads and getting your message out there on your own. So I want to take you through, I think it's 4. If you go to the next slide, we're going to focus on the media for a minute. And if you don't mind, I'll have you click on each of these really quickly, and then we'll just come back. But I'll just do a quick overview. Sorry, if you want to head back for 1 second. Just of what I'll be showing. There's these 4 areas that I think, like I said, if you're not doing them, would be really good for you to start in on. And one is setting up your shoppable posts on Instagram, so that if you aren't, it's one thing to post an image on Instagram, but as you may already know, you can also take those images and put a link on it so that people can shop right through the image. So that image is in fact an ad for you. And in order to do that, there's some steps you have to take, and I'm going to show you where you can research that, but I'm also here for the next hour or more to be able to discuss this with you more in depth. I also want to show you where you can go so that you can learn how to boost your Instagram posts, or to take those posts and put some money behind it perhaps and get it out there and seen by more people, essentially doing your own media buy through social media. I want to show you there's 2 main networks when you talk about buying media online. That's Facebook's network, which of course includes Instagram, and then Google's network, which of course is YouTube, but also entails a lot of other things, including display ads and search engine keyword, things like that you can do through Google search. So there's this sort of like vast array of advertising networks through those 2 big platforms. And I want to show you where you can get started on learning about that too. Lisanne, should my instinct is to sort of like pause every once in a while and see if there's any questions, but should I just run through everything and then? Yeah, okay. So let's, sorry, you're on mute, Lisanne, but I assume you said yes, keep going.
Yeah, keep going, and then we'll do Q&A after.
Okay, cool.
Thanks.
So let's hit the first link if we could on setting up shoppable posts on Instagram. This is if you just scroll through while I'm talking, you'll be able to see this is just a bit of a step-by-step guide on doing shoppable posts. It entails switching to a business account on Instagram, which it shows you how to do. And then, this is hooking up with your Facebook account, because of course Facebook and Instagram are integrated as the best they could. Once those 2 things are happening, then you will be given new tools in Instagram to be able to make shoppable ads. And I'm going to show you examples of that in a second, but we can go back to the presentation. The second link I want to show you, boost Instagram posts. So this is a way to take your existing posts and start to push that out there. And if you haven't already done this, if you have a business account, even if you're a creator account, you can not only do your posts, but you can then send it out to audiences, as well as do ads within stories that will then be seen by these audiences. This is all be done through your phone. And one of the cool things about it is that you can actually go through and start to set your audience and location. There's demographic information built into the process of making your ad. So you can choose people in only United States, only Los Angeles, major metropolitans, and it'll give you these options as you go through this to be able to set your own target audiences and try out different things with them. I do this with my photography, for various reasons. I might want to up my view count. I might want to be seen more by certain people. And so I will go through and I have various different audiences that I can select on any given post, and it will send it to them. I have, for some bizarre reason, my work is popular in Brazil. And so I've just sort of leaned into having a Brazilian audience for my photography. And I've sort of, put myself out there to a certain kind of audience that I think my work resonates with, in order to be more front and center with them. So these are all tools you can do for yourself as well. And you can spend really as little as you want. You can do $5. And what it'll do is it'll show you, as you move a slider, for the amount you want to spend. It'll also show you the reach that you'll get for that money. And you can do that over as many days as you want. So you can spend $50 over one day. You can spend $50 over a week. You can spend $100 over a month. You can parse this out however you want to do this, make your own ad plan. And then when it does that, you actually have these tools to be able to go in and see how it's doing. So that's all really good. Heading back to the presentation, I just want to talk quickly about the Facebook network and the Google network. This is Facebook's actual website. If you scroll down, you'll start to see that, as sort of simple as they make it look up front, as you get down into this, it really gets pretty technical. But the good news is they take you through it step by step, and they show you exactly how it's done. And I'll tell you, this was exactly what we did when I was at the agency side of things too. We would go on this webpage all the time to look at formats and to make sure we were using all the right units right. This is the same tool big agencies use to tell creatives what to go create. So it's all available to you here. And then likewise, the last one, which is the Google one, as you'd expect, even less user-friendly, but still has a lot of stuff in there. They take you through all their different ad formats. It's all the stuff you've seen when you go onto YouTube and watch a video. They've got these overlays that ruin your video, and little display ads that go on top and on the bottom, and that's all listed here. All those things are listed here. And those are things, by the way, in most of these cases, as your business owners who already have assets, meaning photos of your products, if you have that, you're basically ready to go. And if you head back to the main page, the last note I just want to sort of say on media is that there are things you can do on your own, which this list of 4 things will take you through. There are things you can't do on your own as in media, and you probably are already well aware of this, but there are things, deeper media buying tools that media agencies and individuals have who are professional media buyers, and they will get you a level deeper than what this can get. But this is a very useful tool, and a lot of businesses are doing the totality of their media through these 2 networks and through these processes. But if you are in a position where you're ready to start targeting people based on much bigger activities, like what TV shows they watch, where they shop, and a lot of other things that are sort of outside the digital sphere, well, then you get a media person who can help with that. And these days, the possibilities, if you aren't already deeply tied into this, are quite remarkable, especially with geo-targeting. I've done ads that have reached people as they've left a Nordstrom's. I've done ads that that know people were just at a farmer's market or at a Whole Foods. And that can be really interesting, especially if you know that your demographic or your audience overlaps with the purchase behaviors. So for example, If you're selling something that would be a perfect thing for Whole Foods, going after a Whole Foods target would be great. And a media person, of course, can overlay that with a yoga user and all kinds of other materials that, that are just fantastic for someone who needs to do advertising to do. But that said, this is a great set of tools to do while you're at home, and 4 different websites for you to probably spend the next 2 or 3 days on, just trying to figure out. I will say it's also helpful on all of these to have somebody who can keep you from getting stuck. As you head down these roads and scroll down these sites and you start doing some of these things, for example, let's say you have an Instagram feed and it's not a business account. Well, you can't set up your shop in Facebook or connect to your Shopify site to your Instagram account unless your Instagram account is a business account. So they make that pretty clear. But let's say you're trying to turn your Instagram feed into a business account and you don't know what button that is to do that. It's really good to have somebody who you can just send a message to and say, hey, I'm trying to turn this into a business account. How do I do that? Who can keep you flowing in terms of your learning on this kind of stuff. And I do this in my business all the time too. I'm taking a lot of time to learn new editing techniques and videography. And I have mentors of my own who, when I get stuck, I can reach out to. And all my clients do this with me too, when they get stuck. So don't let yourself get stuck. There's a lot of complexity in here. When you see something you don't know and you're not finding it on Google, reach out to somebody. So that's a little recommendation on the media side. On the next slide, I want to show you specifically the shopping elements of this, because I think this is really relevant to hopefully a majority of you who are selling hard goods of some kind. And if you look on the left and you see the circled area that says tag products, that is a thing that is not on your Instagram. If you go do a post right now for Instagram, you'll see tag people and you'll see add location, but you won't see tag products. That will appear once you do all the things they need you to do, which is turn yourself into a business account, get your products up on Facebook Marketplace, or connect your Shopify site to them. That stuff all has to be done. You have to be approved. You have to put in, as you'd expect, some information Facebook needs to know from you, some tax codes or import. They need to know your location so they can tax you correctly. You have to put some identification up there. They have to verify you and approve you for this. And then you will get a notification that you've been approved. My experience is that if you have digital goods, they're less likely to approve you. But if you sell, objects that people can buy and have shipped to them, you'll get approved very quickly. So that will appear when you tag a product. You'll get product source, and if you look to the right of the third screen over to the right, you'll see what happens if you click that, which is you see from Facebook pages. So you can actually go to Facebook to your business page and you can start a marketplace there. It's not even on your website. You can do it right from Facebook. Or the one below that says from Business Manager is a link to a Shopify site. So assuming you guys have all your products on Shopify, that's a connected Shopify list that pulls directly from your website, and Facebook is in business with Shopify and knows exactly how to pull that stuff in. Going back to the second screen, that's where your products will show up. You tap on one, then look at the fourth screen, and you see it comes up just like it would if you had tagged a person. So now it's on there, the price is on there, and someone can tap on that. And as you've done, I'm sure, because you probably all bought things at some point through Instagram, pops up within your screen. You go through the page, the Shopify page, and then you buy. So that's the process today. That is something you could get up and running in a day, maybe a couple days if you have a lot of products, and maybe a few more days if you're finding the process a little bit difficult and you haven't got a Shopify site, or you need to get a lot of stuff up on Facebook. If you click to the next screen, I just want to give you a little look into where things are going with this. This is starting to roll out now, and this person is an influencer, Caitlin Bristow. She, as you can see in her post here, has tagged a lot of brands, but you'll see this one I've circled called Shelby Legging that has the chevron, the Instagram colored chevron under there. well, that's an indication that you can actually buy that product from her image. So think about the difference here. This is, you guys have gotten a celebrity or an influencer to help you out by posting your image. You can then have them post buy it from their page. So you click on that, it goes right into a shopping bag, as you can see in the next one, and the delivery and checkout screen happens right there on the right. So that all happens on their feed. You never even have to go to a brand page to buy that object, which is fairly remarkable, but also where it seems everything is going in terms of online sales. So start to gather your influencers and your celebrity endorsers and all of that out there. I'm assuming as this rolls out, these you'll be able to set how much money you pay an influencer for them to put this on their site. I don't know if it's a percentage or a cut fee or an option to do either, but that's pretty much how that math is going to end up working. So good time right now while you're sitting at home to start to think about who you might get and who might be right for your brand in a scenario like this. Okay, next screen. So let's talk about message and about addressing the crisis. My thought and my advice that I've been giving out is to be a helper in this situation and to think of yourself as a useful entity to help those in need, because that is what's needed. And there's really, in my mind, three ways you can think about this right now. One is about being part of the solution. So are you providing something of use right now? And that doesn't have to be your product. That could be a donation from the proceeds of your product. That could also just be, something new that you create, potentially, like a lot of these clothing brands that are doing masks or something. So how are you helping, be part of the solution for what's happening right now? But if that's not an option, there's also being part of the support system. So, healthcare workers, what they're doing in New York and other parts of the world right now to support healthcare workers is remarkable. There's a lot of artist support going on right now. A lot of the funders, Ford Foundation and all these kinds of people out there are all turning their attention to artists, which is really nice. There's also, just messaging out there, the stay-at-home messaging and others that you could be a part of as well. And you can think about just letting yourself be a vehicle for the support system out there. It doesn't have to be all of it, but it can be something that resonates with you. And then the other one, of course, is being part of the experience. And this is where, your empathy and understanding, and we're in this unique time where everything you're going through, your audience and your customers are going through at the same time. And it's all the same kinds of emotions. That rarely happens in the world, and usually it's events that not even everyone can participate in or feel that, the Super Bowl or something where everyone's paying attention at the same time, or the Academy Awards, not to equate this with those kinds of entertainment properties, but it is very unique that a large group of people, much less the entire world, is having the same emotion or same set of emotions. And so for you to express that you're part of this experience, that you're feeling it too, that you're going through it too, and start to relate that to your product set and how that potentially can ladder up to that. And that leads to an example by way of copy that I just sort of want to talk about, tone appropriate copy. I don't think any of this is a huge surprise to you or is new news necessarily, but I do think it's a good, just very simple ABC checklist for you to make sure you're connecting your business to their experience. So we're so used to in marketing just talking about our product benefits and our unique selling propositions that we often, that can, in a hierarchy of messaging, that's going to be the most important thing. And then maybe later on in body copy, we will relate that to someone else's experience. This is reversed right now, and it's essential, especially right now and in the next probably week, if not longer, that any message that comes out is relevant. If you were to look like a message that was from 3 months ago, there's a fairly high potential of backlash just because it's going to seem tone deaf without an acknowledgement of some kind. Addressing the crisis and slash but using your own voice for that, I think is important. You know, you still have a voice, you're still a brand, and a brand is just a person, and people have voices all their own, and you should be using that voice. And then because everything is changing, everyone is assuming right now that any new thing that comes in has to come in a different way, whether that's social distancing, takeout. Every business is changing in some way. And so how is your business changing, and how can you explain that simply to someone? So if you look at the next page, I'll show you an example. I don't know if any of you have eaten at the Rooster Truck, but it is absolutely the best breakfast burrito in the city, if not the entire universe. And they sent out a email that did exactly all three of these things. So need a Rico to get you through. That's connecting their business to my experience. I really like this language that says, no truck, no problem. So they usually come from a truck, but of course they're not doing that. They say, as you know, the truck has been out of commission due to the, well, world situation at hand. So they chose not to say coronavirus or COVID-19. That's their voice, you know, and they're doing this in a way that, you know, like a human would speak. And I just think that's very them. So for you to know your voice and speak in your voice is important. And then the what does this mean, and the 1, 2, you know, it should say 3. That's kind of funny. They must have written this really quickly and not put the 3 and put 2 instead of 3. So their 1, 2, 2 process of getting a burrito, you know, is very well explained, and it's very easy to follow along. And so I think this is just a really good, nice illustration of how to be appropriate. You're still marketing, you're still offering your product, which, by the way, I don't think there's any shame in trying to be a business and help the economy through what we're going through. And I don't think anyone feels that way. I don't think anyone thinks we should all be shutting our doors and not doing business right now. So I don't think there's any reason to feel bad or guilty about doing marketing and getting your product out there. We have to keep the economy going. So next slide. This was an area I was really passionate about, and I invented this sort of this practice with brands at Weber Shandwick, and it's called a brand act. And I was a really big proponent of brands not saying what they do, but doing what they do, doing something to express their values. And you know, this was whatever 6, 7 years ago. Now it's a fairly common thing for brands to do, whether they call it a brand act or not. You show more by how you behave and how you act than you ever could through a message. And the classic examples are, you know, when CVS removes tobacco from the shelves, or Playboy stops doing, you know, nudity in their images. Like those are things that say something about who you are as a brand. And so I think now is a really appropriate time to start thinking about brand acts. And it goes to what you're doing to support and what you're doing to help. But by way of example, spirit brands, if you're seeing them out there, are all supporting bartenders right now, which I think is really interesting. Nikon just put up all of their online courses for free. Apparel companies are pivoting to do N95 masks and all kinds of other things. So if you ask yourself, how can you provide a safe distance experience? I think that's an interesting question to ask within your business. How can you assist in the mental health of your customer? Everyone is going through some form of mental health issue right now, even if it's just anxiety and fear, if not a whole lot worse. So being a helper in that could be a really nice thing right now. And ultimately, I think that relates to the last one, is how can you change someone's life? And I always like to think of it in terms of one person. And I always encourage, no matter how big a brand is, to think about doing something for one person, not an audience or a set of customers or a demographic or psychographic, but just pull out a person and do something nice. You know, the big example over the last, whatever, I don't know how long it's been now, 7-year campaign of, you know, the Honda's, you know, random acts of kindness and stuff like that, you know, is emanates out of that kind of behavioral marketing. And then last, I think the next slide is the last one. And then we can open it up. Is there a next slide, or is that it?
This is the last slide. Reacquaint with your why.
Yeah. Okay, I'm not seeing it on here, but yes, the last slide says reacquaint with your why. There it is. In business, we are often programmed and incentivized to talk about how we do, what we sell. The hows and whats are the cornerstones of our business. And as CEOs and founders of our business, we find ourselves in that kind of elevator pitch situation all the time. And after doing that over and over again, we can often forget why we got into this business. And it is very important at different junctures in any marketer's life or any brand's life to reacquaint and to think about why you are doing what you do. Why do you exist? And now is a great time to do that, because when you look at that, you will immediately be able to answer the previous questions about what you want to do to help somebody. It has to resonate with you as a business owner. It has to feel right, and it has to align with your values. And so you don't know that unless you ask why, and why you got in this business. So it might be a good time, as an actual first step before you start going into all the Google and Facebook networks to just align yourself again with, why you got into this business, how it helps people, and what your mission is. And that's it from me. I'm ready to take any and all questions. I hope I can answer.
Thank you, Josh. That was great. So I'm going to just make a note that Tanya and Annette are also on the line to answer questions. But any questions on social media, we can start asking that. And Tanya, you can kick in with Josh. Tanya and Josh are also sponsors for Pink Talented Angels this year, and they will talk a little bit about what they're doing at the end of the Q&A.
I have a question. This is Deborah. Hi. So it's fascinating that for years they've been talking about if somebody's wearing something on TV that you really like, that you should be able to click on it and buy it, and but to see that an influencer that you can buy something that she's wearing. Now, would she get a certain percentage of that sale then? Because aside from just, the advertising and whatever she's being paid to be an influencer, would she expect also to get part of the sale?
I have to believe it. I don't have the back end to that yet, but I think you could pretty much rely on being able to set a price on there as an influencer. And it'll be interesting to see who sets that, whether the influencer has and whether that's a fee, a flat fee, or a percentage. I'm super interested to see how that functions. And I'm sure they could, work those deals outside of it too. I mean, maybe they don't take a kickback, and maybe you work that deal with them. They could probably set zero, I'm sure, as a reward. So yeah, I'm super interested to see, but I'm pretty sure they'll put some tools in place for them to make money. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. It's great.
So Josh, when you think about right now, everybody charging to be able to communicate to their consumers, and you think about budget, how do you balance the communication flow with the way the budget is? And I know budgets are very unique to the actual business themselves, but are there tips that you can give to be able to kind of fish through and be able to hit the demographic that you're going after? That's one question. The second question is, can you use social media for retail support for retailers and be able to help where a lot of our entrepreneurs are at currently, Albertsons, Whole Foods, Safeways, Sprouts, to be able to support the retail shelves through social media?
Right. Well, I mean, I think currently probably nothing, as no one's going out shopping for anything other than essential items. But as far as how social media helps brick and mortar, that's always a tough one. Going from online to offline is a very tough ask. personally, if I was going to try to affect offline, I would engage a media, a professional media buyer, and I would be doing targeted ads that were, they were geo-targeted so that, I was being made aware of locations at appropriate times, as opposed to, social media, which is a bit hit and miss and isn't really designed to do online to offline conversion. It's online is usually online to online conversion. So that part's tougher. In terms of managing the budget, like you said, this is particular to everyone's business. I work with individuals who don't like to spend very much money at all. And I work with brands who, mid-sized brands who will spend somewhere around 10 grand to 20 grand a month on online advertising. I do think that's 10 grand is probably a good benchmark for any small to mid-sized marketing company. At a place that, by the way, it can be dialed down from there. But I do think it's a number that it's going to get you something. You're going to get sales. The question is going to be your ROI on that, which you'll be able to see, and whether that spend is yielding enough for you. And then, of course, as you know, that's going to depend on your margins and amount of sales and things like that. You will get sales, but how the ROI works is going to be particular to your business,
And what about partnering with other brands in social media campaigns to cut the cost?
In terms of structuring the deal?
Yeah.
That's an area I'm not as familiar with in terms of like brand partnerships. Being on the creative side, I don't get quite as much look into deals and those structures, but I know they're happening for sure. I don't know, Tanya, Annette, anyone feel more knowledge?
Yeah, I think there are interesting things to be done with collabs. More kind of on the messaging you talked about, being relevant, talking about the time that we're in and post-COVID and everything. I think that authentic messaging and, what you instance the food truck, there could be a collab with something else which just kind of adds to the humor and the voice and stretches the dollars. I mean, if it makes sense and two brands are paying for it, then the dollars stretch a little bit further. And particularly, I think, you also talked about at the moment how innovative people are in reaching out at this time, sharing humor or empathy or bringing a solution. If you're going to package a solution which is threefold, so much the better. And if that's three brands splitting the cost of that, then I think it makes good financial sense also.
Yeah.
Great. Anybody else have any other questions? Anything around social media, marketing?
Yeah, I was going to say, Josh, would you talk a little bit about, obviously, I think we all enjoyed that presentation. For a lot of us, to do that ourselves is a bit daunting. And you advised that we all, tip in over the next few days and just sort of go around. Drill into that a little bit. I think it makes sense, even if you've got, actually, we consult often with companies who actually leave it to an agency. But I think our advice would be to everybody is understand this as if you can do it yourself, and you will for sure get the most out of it. I think we all ought to be able to do this for ourselves, even if we're using an agency. Can you talk a little bit to that?
Yeah. The nice thing right now is that you can test it. You don't need to spend that much money to become an expert on this, or at least to become functional on it. You could right now go spend $5 and boost an Instagram post. You would get an incredible amount of data for that $5 and a fairly good education if you've never done it before, just on how to address an audience. So that's one thing. The setting up of your Shopify site or adding your products into Facebook, into their shopping area, is a practice that, again, costs nothing. It's only time. And it really does a lot to set you up for the future, because if your products are all available to the network, what you can do, in the future is going to be incredible. Even if you end up just delegating all of that, the fact that you know how that functions is, I think, really good and a great thing you can get into immediately. I will just reiterate, Tanya, to your point that, there are going to be areas that you're just going to feel like, okay, this is just beyond me, and I do think it's important to have a network of people. This network that's on right now is a pretty impressive one. And whether there's a forum or someone who can be like, oh, I know how to do that, or I just went through that, or here, I'm going to screen cap this for you and show you how to do it, or I'm going to come, Zoom with you and share your screen and walk you through it. I think having that around you, if you're at all feeling overwhelmed by it, is a great idea.
I think, Josh, down here we have a question from Sashi. Can you tell us your favorite use or examples of utilizing Instagram Live?
Oh yeah, hello. Let's see, Instagram Live. My favorite examples are educational ones. I have yet to see Instagram become sort of like appointment television or anything where it's like, oh man, like every Thursday night, so-and-so gets on Instagram Live. So if you don't think of it like a TV show and like, a set time, it's the kind of thing where you make yourself available. I think the person who's done it best, you guys familiar with the artist Doja Cat by chance? She's a hip hop artist. She's amazing. I met her when she was young and she was just performing off in Sundance, and I went to a show and she did this song about cows, Moo Moo something, and blew up. She's like over 1 million followers now. But even before she was popular, and I think one of the things that really helped her is that she was live all the time. She would be live while she was brushing her teeth. She would be live while she was working out a song. She's a little raunchy, and so there was always a chance that she was going to say something crazy. And that helped. So the thing that I gained out of that understanding is, one is I'm not a great live person because I'm not that interesting, and I'm not likely to do anything surprising ever in front of another person. So I think you need to have that personality, a little of that YouTube personality, and the desire to kind of be there in front of someone. And she was doing it all the time. So it was like, you realize that she's opening up her life to you. And I thought that was, that made her very accessible, and she used it in the right way. And she just developed this incredibly rabid fan base. So that when she kind of blew up and got popular, it was like, well, these are now evangelists. They're all spreading like unassailable success at this point, because she's sort of like, she brought all these people in. And so I don't know, that's probably the best example of using it that I've ever seen. The other way that I see brands doing it, and if you look, I think it was Nike, there's some big brands that do a pretty nice job, is they're using it, it's not live, but they're using IGTV as a content source. So it's essentially, think of it like YouTube in a lot of ways, but you create these channels. They've got all their, the athletes they sponsor. They've got all this content. You can sort of go in and get all this great content in there. And it's more just like a video channel. That's how I see brands doing it. I just don't think brands they don't usually have, as a brand, you don't have the same personality and kind of like desire that like a live gamer has, or a YouTube artist or a musician has, where live is really like, that's what it's designed for. It's the Twitch gamer type of person who's like, I'm gonna, if I was doing it right, I'd be showing people how I edit all my photos all the time. And, I would enjoy that. I can't imagine how horrible that would be, but that's the mentality you've got to have.
Hey Josh, it's Danielle. I have a question.
Great.
I'm curious what you think about people behind the brand. So like, for example, Gwyneth Paltrow behind Goop, she has her own online persona, her own hobbies, interests, people that follow her, and then everyone knows that she's the person behind Goop as well. Yeah. Like, do you think maybe now is as good of a time as ever to reveal the founder behind the brand so that you can humanize it. You can touch on all like the emotions we're feeling right now, so the brand isn't so siloed from the founder.
100%. Yeah, I think that would be a great thing to do. I think the thing to work out is just logistics. Gwyneth Paltrow was already, a wild success. And so she had both of those kind of already. In fact, her personal success predated Goop. So you're trying to reverse that, which is take a brand that's successful and then add a personality under there. It's a much harder road because, you don't have a ton of movies and relationship with Brad Pitt to fall back on, so you might. The thing would be to figure out how you sustain it and how will you do this, not just today and tomorrow, but ongoing for as long as it needs to go on. And that really, I think a lot of people enjoy that and have a lot to say and would be really good at that. You just have to make sure you're okay to keep doing it over and over again. Production it can get tiring. Setting up the lights and the camera and doing some editing and, getting it online and formatting it right. And, it's not nothing. And so you just got to make sure you're up for it. But if the question is it a good time? Absolutely. 100%. I think so.
Hey, Josh, how many times a day should you post not to burn out the fatigue of it? Should there be a temperament of when you post and how you think about that?
I think so. You'll usually get a sense of that by your engagement. And every genre, I think, has a different kind of audience. And that audience has a different expectation level for what they might see from you. So I'm a fan of one a day. Like when I ran US Army, we were doing 6 a day on every channel. And that was appropriate. That's what they found worked for them. I'm working with some medium-sized brands who were committed to 4 a week. And I think that's a very manageable, when you're really caring about each one of your posts and each of them matters to you and your grid matters to you, I think 4 or 5 a week is more, it's going to be more tenable, because if you start streaming through 2-3 a day, you're going to need to do new photo shoots every couple of weeks. And
there's also burnout, right? There's a bit of a burnout of seeing so much from you.
Yeah. Although these days, with the algorithm, it's working against all of us. And you guys know what has happened. Essentially, Instagram throttles your reach in hopes that we will have this conversation. You will then boost your post so that people see it, So that throttled behavior of Instagram is actually keeping anyone from seeing too much of your stuff anyway. So I'm actually not as worried about burnout for my brands these days as I am about getting seen at all. But yes, I mean, I think it's burnout internal and external to do more than 2 or 3 a day, unless you're really like topical with that. If you're hitting me with an ad all the time, that's going to cause wear out for sure. But if it's COVID related and there's, new news coming out and you're part of the media of that in some ways and people are relying on you for that, then yeah, absolutely. Keep going.
Great. Hey, Elaine, do you want to ask your question?
I see one on here. Oh, this is to everyone.
Hi, Elaine.
Hi, Josh.
Hi.
Suzanne. I was just wondering, I've heard a lot about Pinterest for product-based businesses.
Yeah.
Because Pinterest pins, the content lasts longer rather than people just like scrolling through Instagram. And I realize it's not social media, it's more of a search engine, but I wondered if you had any information.
Not any much more than you have. I've had the same experience where I'm finding it suddenly a little like LinkedIn, like it was there, it went away, and then suddenly everyone was talking about LinkedIn again, I find that about Pinterest. They must have done something because I'm hearing about that too, but I don't get asked to do much for Pinterest. That seems much more like controlled, by people who sort of own the brand and they can put images up there. So I'm not sure I don't know what the ROI is. I don't know how you put a call to action on there. but I have been hearing it does seem like it's being very popular right now. I wish
Well, you link it back to blogs on your website. That's really what you need to do.
Gotcha. Yeah,
So that it's driving traffic to your website.
because you look for the source of where the image came from, right?
Yeah.
You see, it's like, oh, let me click on the article that had that image, and then it takes you over.
Right. But you've got to use like Tailwind, and it's much more complicated to run than like Instagram or Facebook.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to look into that.
Yeah.
Thanks, Elaine. Let's see, Isabella, do you want to ask your question? You want me to do it for you? I'll do it for you.
I can see.
Can you? Cool.
Yeah, the question is, can anyone use Instagram to sell? With the shopping functions, you need 10,000 followers. Because it sounds like her business is at 5,600 and trying to grow. Direct to consumer was not a focus prior to the pandemic, so they're catching up. Yeah, I think you may need 10,000. That sounds right, to start doing it. So you may have to grow that way. That cutoff point, whatever it is, also allows you to, in your stories, you can actually add a swipe up button in your story as well. So yes, you do need to be at a certain level to do that. And growth on Instagram, essentially has to be paid for these days in my mind if you want to do it quickly. The other way to do it is organically. It just, it's hit and miss and takes a long time.
Great. Okay, so let's see. We're at 6:30 exactly. Wow, well done.
Great.
Incredible. I think we've answered most of the questions. Thank you, Josh. Incredible. Would you and Tanya, will you just give us just a brief overview of what you'll be offering this year with our members that we're choosing for the year? We're working with Sashi right now on this, and just kind of give an overview of what you and Josh will prepare and work with each individual Pink Talented Angel member.
Sure. So thank you, Lizanne. Yes, so Josh and I have been working on a product, a sort of a brand snapshot. We're trying to create a nimble product where we can come in and bring our experience and our best thinking fast and furiously, and take a sort of an aerial view of the brand, and then go through some ideation in collaboration with you or with the entrepreneurs that PTA is featuring this year, and then come back with some recommendations, which includes a sort of a digital strategy. So we're trying to create a roadmap and also an evaluation of the brand from our perspective, in hopes that would be incredibly helpful. And we're starting with Sashi, and we're very excited. So we'll be able to, as part of the ongoing, when we get back and we actually have events, we'll be able to look at our first case study. Josh, you want to add anything onto that on the digital side?
No, I mean, it's a great thing to be able to do, to just delve deeper. These kinds of discussions I really like, but I like even more learning about new businesses and applying this to that. And so, really on the digital side of it, looking at everything is a really nice thing to do. And Tanya's idea of being, a little bit above it all and sort of looking at the entirety of a business. I like to look at it from a digital perspective, and that can be anything from whether there's a digital aspect to delivery, to website, to advertising, to and online media, to actual social content and things like that. And so, it's just a way to kind of look at the entirety of the business and say, where are the strengths? Where do we think, there's some opportunity for you? And then also look at other businesses out there. I think we have the advantage of also talking to a lot of businesses, looking at a lot of businesses, and we can find some best practices. that are out there, and so you don't have to invent all this from scratch. So yeah, it's a kind of exciting little thing to be part of.
It's very exciting and very helpful, especially at the phase of where most of our entrepreneurs are at.
Yeah.
For them to step away and move back in and see a different perspective always drives more productivity on the company side. We have one more question, Josh. You want to, let's see.
So
How
the one-
can we be considered for this opportunity to work with Tanya and Josh? Oh, I'll take that. I'll take that one. Right. So Pink Talented Angels, you would go to the LizanneFalsetto.com website. Soon we will have a new website. We're updating it. Unfortunately, with the crisis, we've had to pull back and focus on this, the virtual kind of platform that we're trying to be there for every one of you. But if you go to LizanneFalsetto.com under Pink Talented Angels, there's a link. Please fill out the link. It asks maybe 8 questions about your business, what you're looking for, where you're at. We go through those daily. We also are able to, when we are able to have events, we'll be doing a larger platform of communication where you can be more involved. We have UBS as our #1 sponsor, and what UBS is doing is they're bringing a whole financial platform of education to the entrepreneurs on how to think about not just your business platform, but how to think about your personal platform in line with your business. How are you thinking about setting up your taxes? And how are you thinking about executing stock value and stock shares? And so as we move forward after the crisis, I think we will be able to have a larger platform of communication that's going to be quite helpful. But to answer that question, please go to LizanneFalsetto.com, fill out the link. Tanya and Josh are also available to work with you, and you can go to the same website and request or send an email to Jen@LizanneFalsetto.com, and she'll connect you with Tanya and Josh, and you're welcome to work with them individually, one-on-one. They are available and here to help. On that platform, there would be a fee, but I think that it's very reasonable, and at the moment, their hearts are exactly in the right spot, which is how do we help our Pink Talented Angels get to the next level through the crisis. So feel free to reach out. I think we're probably going to close out unless there's any other questions about anything that anybody else would like. Oh, I forgot about this. This is really great. This is the founder of Spanx, and Sarah Blankley just announced a $5 million donation, 5,000 per selected female founders. So go to @GlobalGiving's website to apply now. Do it tonight, because I'm sure 1,000 female founders, once they hear about this, she just put it out on Instagram. It's a really incredible opportunity to just get a little more money. I mean, maybe you could take that 5K and go to Josh and Tanya and say, hey, help me with social media, or utilize it in any way possible. But I just, I'm going to post about her tonight. I just think it's a fantastic gift that she's done. And it's just launched today. So please feel free to go and hit that link and try to apply for that $5,000 donation that Sarah so kindly is offering to our female entrepreneurs. Let's see, I think we have one more. Someone's asking one more question.
Yeah, it's about
Oh, you want to grab that, Josh?
Yeah, this comes up quite a bit. Influencers these days, it depends if they're very high, they'll be repped, and if they're repped or have an agent or a manager, that information will be usually in their bio. And so I would just look in their bio for that. If you don't see a manager link in a bio of an influencer, then reach out directly. I would just DM them on Instagram. It's if they'll let you know usually, because that's the heart of their business, how to reach them. In if there is no other information on them, then just a direct message to them would be the way to go. They're usually fairly responsive depending on who it is and their level of professionality. But I find that's one of those self-filtering kinds of items to me. If someone's not very responsive, they're probably not going to be a great asset to you either. You know, you need someone who's professional. So look for professional people. And Elaine just posted a link which could be really good for connecting brands and influencers. There's a couple different links that will do that. And so you can always go that kind of official route. But if you have someone in mind who you really like, those personal relationships can be really great.
Fantastic.
Oh, it also said, what should the ask be? So in the professional organizations that will reach out, like when people send me something through, I can try to figure out what the platform is. There's 2 platforms that will reach out to me sometimes just as a photographer. Like Adobe asked me to do a post on using Adobe Lightroom on my phone. They work directly with a big brand. The brand puts a brief together and they're very prescriptive about what the need is. And it goes out to a number of influencers, and it also sets in there what is going to be given for that. So is it a $500 check? Is it product? That's also to determine in the upfront with the organization that's doing that. So if you have like a really big thing and you want to reach out to a lot of influencers and treat them more as a network, then you want to go through an organization. They'll take you through the whole process. If you're looking more for like a spokesperson, maybe a set of 3 to 5 people or 1 to 5 people who you really want to start to rep your brand, you can do that directly. I mean, clothing brands have reached out to us on he's now 5, but when he was 2, we used to get brands that wanted our 2-year-old to wear their products, and they would just send it, and they would just reach out directly to us. So, there's sort of both avenues you can go down for that.
Did we lose Lizanne?
We might have. I think.
Oh dear.
Tanya,
Hi, can you hear me now?
Oh, there she is. Okay, terrific. Good, good.
Sorry. The mute button. I have to remember that. So you know what we'll do to make everybody's life easier? We'll send out Tanya and Josh's information on an email to everybody so they can access it. That way you have immediate contact with them, because we know that at this time during the crisis, we want to move quickly. And as we said last week, there is opportunity in a crisis. So, stand strong, ladies. I really believe that together we can get through this, and it's only going to get better as we move forward with our heads up, being strategic entrepreneurs, marching through this with a positive attitude and knowing that we have each other to lean on. Please feel free to reach out if you need to answer any questions about marketing, logistics, operations, employees. I am here for you. Pink Talented Angels is here for you. Next week on Thursday, we have a TED Talk, an emotional communicator on crisis management. And she's coming in to do our event next Thursday. So please watch out for that. We would love for you to join us. And I wish you all a very safe, healthy week. And I look forward to seeing you all next Thursday.